Ever walked through your front door after a perfectly nice social event and just felt completely, absolutely wiped out? Well, take a breath, because your feelings of sheer exhaustion are incredibly valid. In this explainer, we're diving straight into why you are definitely not broken, and, more importantly, why you are not the only one feeling this way.
So let's just ask the big question right up front. Why do you feel like you have a massive hangover when you haven't touched a single drop of alcohol? You had a great time, right? But suddenly your brain feels like it's nursing a monumental, pounding hangover. What is actually going on here?
Picture this. You're sitting in your car in the driveway. Total silence. You are so drained that you literally can't even muster the energy to turn the key and go inside. Honestly, you just want to crawl into a pitch black room for like 48 hours. But right alongside that crushing fatigue, there's this sharp, nagging guilt. You're probably telling yourself, come on, stop being so dramatic, stop being lazy. Especially since your friends are probably out there planning their next get-together right now. Look, if you've spent your whole life feeling like a fraud just because you need a recovery day, I just want to tell you, you must be so incredibly tired.
Section 1. Orchids versus Dandelions, the biology of sensitivity.
Here's the truth. You aren't fragile. You are not failing at being human. You just have very specific internal hardware. See, researchers suggest you likely belong to a very specific group, about 20% of the population, that possesses a biological trait called sensory processing sensitivity. The other 80%, the general population, they simply don't share this trait. It's an absolute, fundamental difference in how your nervous system is actually wired up.
Psychologists actually use a brilliant analogy for this. Most people out there, they're like dandelions. They take in the world in standard 720p resolution, they easily filter out the background noise, and they can basically grow anywhere. But you're an orchid. Your nervous system is wired to record the world in blinding 8K resolution. You're not just casually hearing a conversation. No, you are actively processing the hum of the refrigerator, the exact texture of your shirt against your skin, and that tiny slight hesitation in your friend's voice, all at once.
Which brings us to a massive number. Well, actually, scratch that, it's zero. Zero gating mechanisms. Because your brain completely lacks that internal gate to filter out all of this overwhelming 8K data, your internal engine is constantly redlining just to stay in neutral. You're absorbing everything, everywhere, all at once. And that leads straight into what clinicians call systemic overload, usually by, lunchtime.
Moving on to Section 2, the guilt trap. Apologizing for exhaustion. Now, the real kicker here is the guilt that inevitably follows this overload. It actually triggers a trauma response called fawning. This is where you become excessively agreeable, super low maintenance, just to feel safe. When you hit that wall and desperately need to shut down, your brain kicks into this fawning mode because, well, you learned early on that being agreeable kept you safe. So think about it. When you send that massive 3-paragraph text over-apologizing for needing a night in, you aren't actually just sharing info with your friends. You're fawning. You are literally begging for permission to have a boundary. To break out of this trap, we have to borrow that classic airplane rule. You must secure your own mask before helping others. And why does this matter so much? Because every single time you break a promise to yourself to get the rest you need, just to appease someone else, you are teaching your brain an incredibly dangerous lesson. You're essentially telling it that you don't actually matter.
Section 3. Your restorative niche. Eliminating the shame. All right, let's pivot to some practical solutions here. Enter the restorative niche. This is a dedicated physical space where you can retreat for just 10 minutes. The goal? Letting your nervous system idle all the way back down to its baseline. I really want us to reframe how we view this. This isn't you hiding from the world, absolutely not. This is required, routine maintenance for a high-performance machine. An ideal restorative niche doesn't have to be some fancy candlelit spa. It can literally be a quiet car, an empty stairwell, or, yeah, let's be real, hiding in a bathroom stall. These spaces are accessible almost anywhere, for when your brain just hits its absolute sensory threshold and starts screaming for a break. You just need a place to let the system reboot.
Building on that niche idea, researchers highly recommend something called the third space transition when moving between different parts of your day. Step 1. Spend 10 minutes in total uninterrupted silence. Step 2. Change your clothes the second you walk in the front door. These physical transitions, they offload cognitive weight. They send a crystal clear signal to your brain saying, okay, the sensory assault of the day is officially over. We are closed for business.
And finally, Section 4. Blooming as an orchid, you are a super sensor.
Let's just ditch the shame entirely right now. It's time to embrace the incredible power of your biological design. There's a great quote for this. For a super sensor, beauty and rest are not luxuries, they are functional medicine. You see, it's not just that you suffer more in harsh environments, the flip side is amazing. When you are planted in the right soil, with the proper maintenance, you bloom. You bloom with a level of creativity and complexity that other people simply cannot reach.
Now for some practical application to help you find that perfect soil, the source material actually provides a free PDF guide. It's called The Greenhouse Protocol. It's linked down in the description below, and it comes complete with the specific scripts and exercises we've talked about today. It's a real game changer for actively building your own restorative niches.
So, I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought to ponder today. Will you stop trying to act like a dandelion and finally start becoming your own gardener? I really hope this explainer brought you a sense of relief and reminded you that your sensitivity is absolutely not a flaw. It's a profound, beautiful gift, and it's one worth protecting. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.